What's happening? That's right. We back, baby. We are back. We are back. We are back. Welcome to Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. I am he, your host. We got another powerful, powerful one today. If you are anywhere in the world and you're listening to this, go grab a piece of paper, some pen, something to take some notes with. I have dug into my bag of tricks, and baby, we got a powerhouse for you today. I had one of my friends. I sometimes should not know all of my friends, but I thought it was absolutely apropos to have this young man with us today. I don't want to get into it too deep, but first, let me just say hello to everybody. Hello, welcome. Give you guys a shout out from wherever you guys are calling in from or listening in from or viewing if you're on YouTube or wherever you're listening to. So, what's going on? So, shout out to everybody from India to South Africa to south of Asia to the south of France to south of Alabama. What's good, baby? I don't care if you're on the west coast of America or you're on the east coast of China. What's happening, everybody? I hope you guys are having a phenomenal day. It is amazing the different things that we've been doing. We have been collaborative with so many different people. And I just want to tell you guys, thank you. So, first, to all of our guests that's logging in for the first time, don't think I'm crazy. I'm a little off, but I like to have fun. But inside of our podcast is going to be some nuggets that this young man is going to drop for you guys that is going to be phenomenal. So I wanted to make sure everybody have an opportunity to grab something to take some notes with. We're going to be talking about from talk to traction or whatever else we may name it at the end of it. Who knows? We may name it something else, but that's what we're going to start with. But I want to introduce you guys to someone that is absolutely amazing. You know, when I'm talking about from boardrooms to transformation initiative, my friend Ash Sadiq brings a gap, and it just between visionary leadership and practical execution. Think about that. Somebody that have a vision, but then bring it to a point to where it's just practical, where everybody can understand it. We're talking about clear communication, seamless organizational change, and I know in I think in the medical world, a lot of people are talking about the organizational change and change management and all of those. That sounds cute, but it's really everywhere. You know, everybody trying to make sure they keep up with society. Well, I got the expert on the line himself. I mean, he's doing meetings and coaching the coaches at places like Oracle and Uber. I was about to say Google.
Yes.
Uber. Uber, Google, and so many other wonderful places around the world. But listen, before I get into so many other things, and I could talk on and on and on about my friend, let me just introduce the gentleman himself. So for the first time, but not the last time, family, welcome to Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette, and that is my friend, my brother, Ash Sadiq. What's going on, Ash? How you
Hey,
doing?
Stanley, I'm just so happy to be here. So I'm very excited about our conversation.
Absolutely, absolutely. Man, you have an amazing background. You have done some amazing things. So before we get into the real details and let's go ahead on and empower some people, what and who I should say who is Ash Sadiq? Who is that?
Okay, Ash Sadiq is a young man from Alexandria, Egypt. I grew up on the beaches in Alexandria, working sometimes with fishermen, sometimes working during the summer, helping people find a table and four chairs on the beach and an umbrella on the Mediterranean. And then I grew up and learned about linguistics and English and just by pure luck and grace, I was able to get a scholarship, a Fulbright scholarship, and come to the US, and that's how I got here.
So wait, so you smart too. Wait, Ash, wait. I gotta pause here because I don't know if everybody understands the power and the impact of what you just said. you said you started with basically as a waiter or servant, helping people find chairs or a table on
That's
the
right.
Mediterranean.
That's
It's
right.
amazing.
Yeah.
So from the beginning, you were taught being, if you will, lack of words, being a servant, serving other people to make sure that their life is better.
Absolutely, absolutely. And my dad had a shirt shop. He would make shirts for men, and that's really where I learned a lot about customer service. I mean, I saw how he's interacting with customers. To your point, definitely service became a very clear target where if you want to achieve something, you need to have something that you can serve people with. And then during the summer, if my dad was not around, that's where I ended. I ended up on the beach working there.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad place to be, on the beach working. I mean, it is, it's kind of, I can find some other worse places to work, but that's good, man. Well, so first of all, so what did you get your scholarship to?
So it was a applied linguistics, and I went to San Francisco State first, and then Michigan
Okay.
State second. So it was definitely very interesting to see other people looking at language and how they can teach English in different environments, and that's really what eventually brought me to corporate communications and so forth.
Okay. All right, so now getting into this whole, let's get it. Get into this corporate communication.
Yeah.
Sometimes feel like you're talking seven different language in one conversation.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, for sure. Because audiences, so many of them have different aspirations, they have different points of view. So you're totally right. I mean, you have to figure out how can you speak different languages in a sense by addressing different audiences differently.
Yeah, I know we recently, my business partner and I, we were having a conversation with a different, I'll say some individuals from a different country, and to maneuver through not so much the language, but the cultural barriers so they could understand what it means on their end and that
Yeah.
we're explaining it to them same on that end. Is that some of the things that you run across as well?
Absolutely. I think a lot of organizations today they are very international and global, and a lot of the time, even here in the US, they have a very multicultural crowd. So they have to speak with that in mind. And if they end up perhaps telling stories, they need to also remember that not everybody in the audience may be so familiar with the NBA and American baseball. So they have to look for ways where it will be a story that is common enough that would resonate with different cultures and audiences.
You say that is true because if we think about football, we think about, as we would say internationally, American football. But if most places around the world, football is
Yeah,
soccer. And
exactly.
so it's
That's
it's
right.
that, wait, what are we talking about? Football or are we talking about football? Which one are we referring to?
Exactly.
So that is interesting. But I also know you have a passion, and as you begin to coach some of these C-level suite executives and so on about storytelling and about how the storytelling can actually merge together with everybody and all of that. How did that develop, first of all? And then how did we as students of the game, right? All of the different entrepreneurs out there, all of the different smaller level businesses, but also have aspirations about growing it internationally. How do they begin to fuse that into their everyday communication?
Great question. So for almost everything we're doing, everything that our audience members are doing, at the heart of everything we're doing, there is a story. There is a story between what's happening today and what needs to happen tomorrow. And right there in that distance between what's happening now and what needs to happen, there is a nice bridge that we need to build for the audience. So whenever we are in any size organization, we are thinking about, I need to be inspiring. Well, fantastic. Tell them what's happening now. Tell them what needs to happen, and then come back and tell them what does the bridge to the future look like, what kind of aspiration we need to build, what kind of inspiration we need to have in order for us to have the grit and the resilience and the
Yes, yes.
stamina to get going, so that when the going gets tough, we keep moving forward and we push forward to make it happen. So that's really where storytelling then becomes so powerful in helping you get people to say, "Oh my God, I don't like it right now. I want to be in that future, and I want to figure out with Stanley and everybody else, we're gonna get this done." And we are so fired up to do it because it looks so much more exciting than what we have today. And definitely remind the leaders that they also need to come across as honoring the present before we start aspiring for the future, because everybody worked so hard to get here and we don't want to
Yeah,
forget that.
yeah. I think what you said is amazing. The honoring of the present, basically not forgetting where you are today, because we worked hard to get here. But
Exactly.
also, that's now enough. We're not gonna stop here.
Yeah,
We got
exactly.
to get to whatever that ending point is and where we're going. How did you begin to develop all of this? Was it based on the shores of the Mediterranean, or was it based in the dorm room at Michigan State, or how did we actually get here to start developing this?
So definitely storytelling is a big part of growing up in Egypt. You definitely end up listening to a lot of stories. Proverbs and metaphors are part of
Wow.
everyday conversations heavily. Like as you were talking about sports in Egypt, it's proverbs that have been developed over years of wisdom. So the mother will have a lot of proverbs that she will use with her kids to basically sort of, cut to the chase and get a particular piece of wisdom across to them. Whether it's about saving money for a rainy day, very similar to some of the proverbs we have in English. So a lot of that in Egypt happens on a daily basis. The storytelling is so embedded in the conversation because of these proverbs. Because a lot of the time you're wondering what's the basis of this proverb, and then they tell you, okay, here's what the story is. But here in the US, working at Cisco and working on large conferences for Cisco, a big part of these conferences was working with leaders who will get on the stage and tell stories about Cisco's present and Cisco's future. So we had to help them articulate an inspiring story so that the audience, by the very end of that conference, they feel so pumped that they want to be part of that vision. And then I ended up then becoming a leadership communications coach where I take a lot of these formulas and I help leaders at Uber or Google or Cisco again to develop that skill because it does something amazing for the audience. The audience all of a sudden gets inspired, gets excited, because this is not just the mundane, we need to grow the business. This is really more about we're serving those customers. Those customers are trying to have a much better experience when they walk into the lobby of the hospital. You know what? We need to get up every day because right now it's not the way it should be, and it can get much better, so much more delightful experience. And that's what we need to get so fired up and go out and do. And that's really inspiring because then it doesn't feel like very mundane, but it's really more inspirational for the audience.
Yeah, because I think, well, first of all, I agree with you. I need to come work for Oracle and Google, because I tell a story about anything.
Yes.
You you give me one of the things that we teach and coach and mentor leaders on our end is that is true, is storytelling. And in our world, sometimes we would say facts tell, but stories sell.
Yeah.
Because if you get deeper into the facts, people kind of be like, I don't care. Oh, the programmer's got to do da, 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 da. But then if you tell a story about it all, then you're like, wow, yeah, I
I
need to
want
hear
that.
more about this. So yeah, so I love that when you infuse storytelling. And then I know you started, I think it was yesterday or the day before we were conversing, and I think you started talking about, oh man, what was it? Basically, I'll say it this way. I'll put it in my own language. Basically, when somebody's stuck, moving them from being stuck to getting them now still pushing forward. Could you explain a little bit more about that to everybody?
Yeah.
Because I know the leaders on the call and everybody's like, some days I'm just stuck. And
Yes.
and they may not have an Ash in their life to call and be like, Ash, I'm stuck today. So how can they take from being stuck and then press forward.
Yeah, I think the best thing that they can do is do what we call time travel. And by time
Okay.
travel, we basically mean go into that future that you want to see happen. Try to
Hmm.
maybe close your eyes for a few minutes, look around, take a look at that, top of the mountain. Look at the promised land that you want to create and you want to see happen, and try to really take it all in. It's almost like standing here in California. You stand on the Yosemite Mountains and you look at some of those waterfalls and you're taking all of that beautiful scene in, and you want to have that smile that you have on your face of what that future looks like. And then we come back and we say, okay, I mean, that was fine and dandy. Now, what is the one step that I can take to get me a tiny bit closer to that future? And by just netting it down to one single step that I can take today, maybe I can pick up the phone and call Stanley, or maybe I send a message to Stanley to start talking about where we want to go. That, in and of itself, is the simplest way to think about how do I get energized? Well, you need to really remember that purpose, that goal that you want to achieve, because that kind of keeps you anchored. I think what happens, people forget where they want to go, and we want to remember what that destination is on a daily basis.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. I always say have somebody you can pick up the phone when you get stuck. Like, okay, Ash, I'm not feeling it today. Like I don't know what's going on. But I think that's amazing to be in that space to begin to just press forward. What is it what you do when you have these CEOs that's making billions of dollars, right? And the vice presidents or the operations officer, and they're making hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're looking at you like, you can't tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. How do
Yeah.
you get them moving from that mindset, that God complex, that I'm the best, to moving them into, okay, you're good at this, but now we're over here. How do you make that happen?
Yeah, we definitely bring up the idea that what got you here is not what's going to get you there. So definitely to your point, we achieve success, but then all of a sudden the tools and a lot of the experiences that got us here have to go through a transformation if we want to go farther. So we definitely spend some time thinking about, that race car that invested so much time, money, and effort in building, and it got you to this destination. We have to find a way to let this car go. Maybe there's somebody else that can buy it, but we
Right.
literally have to go find a different car, because the future is going to require a whole new set of experiences and skills. And as a leader, people want you to talk to them not about the car that's in the garage, but the car that we're going to get.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
They
that's
want to
right.
know, they
Yeah.
want to know what's next, because they
Mhm.
want that aspiration to inspire them and fire them up to create even more success.
I agree. I agree. In that creating that other success, what are some of and I know you've done extensive work on this, but for people that may not be familiar and someone that may be listening for the first time, trying to aspire to get to that, what are some of the skills of highly effective leaders? The strategic leaders. What
Yeah.
are some of those skills? And I know you do master classes on this, but what are
Yeah.
some of those skills that they can do to help with their communication to begin to move forward?
Absolutely. So a very simple framework that everybody listening to us would resonate with them is the framework that basically says free up, think up, and speak up. For
Okay, one
leaders,
second.
yes.
One second. Let me ring the bell.
Yes.
Y'all have to write this down. This
Yeah.
is important. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No,
Go
no,
go ahead.
absolutely. So freeing up is the fact that most of us are working back-to-back calls. Everybody's very busy. The phone is notification here, notification there, and our brain is distracted. So what we advise leaders to do is do what we call meeting with self. It could be a Friday afternoon, whatever day of the week it is, but you got to do it. You got to have that meeting with Stanley. You sit down and you think about, what am I doing? How about this business that needs to change to the better? Where can we kick it up a notch? How am I doing? How is my team doing? How are we doing as a business? And then come up with some ideas. That's when you start thinking up. You think up of new ways of doing things. And then you also say to yourself, you know what? The best ideas are ideas that are co-created. So we tell those leaders, go talk to your team and don't try to come across as that you are the smartest guy in the room. Come across vulnerable, come across, I am here to actually listen and find out from them because sometimes they are the closest to that customer. Because whatever ideas you've come
Wow.
up with, you might want to actually check in with them and see if they have even better ideas. And then once we get those ideas and we know what they are, then we go to the third stage, which is speaking up. We need to go out and evangelize. We need to go and
Hmm.
fire people up. And that's where storytelling becomes amazingly helpful in getting people to see we've got here, this is the stuff we have now, and here's what we're where we can be, and here's how we're gonna get there. You're gonna help us get there. You guys have done it before. I cannot wait for us to get there. You know what? It's gonna be better for our customers, more money for us, more money for everybody here in the company. Let's go do it. So, free up, think up, and speak up is such an amazingly simple framework, but it gets you into that mode of how can I create the alpha in my organization? How can I create even
Yes,
better performance in my organization?
that's strong. That I like that a lot. I like the now you said a word in there, vulnerability. And I know a lot of leaders don't want to be vulnerable.
Yes.
I,
So
I
true.
know you don't want to be vulnerable.
That's so true.
I don't want to be vulnerable. Why should I be vulnerable? Why? Why? But you also talk about creating psychological safety
Yeah,
through communication, not just policy. So does that where some of that vulnerability comes into play? Because
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
psychologically, we're alpha men. So we're not
Yeah.
trying to be vulnerable. But is that where some of that framework comes in as well?
Yeah, because you're coming across as when you share some of that vulnerability and say, I came up with some of these ideas, but you know what? I don't even know if they are really good, and I wanted to come and talk to you. To your point, that creates that psychological safety that if he's saying he's not so sure about these ideas, maybe then it's okay for me to feel comfortable sharing my ideas. Because even
Yes,
if they're
yes.
not the best ones out there, I already have an example in the room already. A guy telling me or a lady telling me that she's struggling with this. Okay, maybe we can struggle together and then maybe together we can come up with even better ideas.
My- I'll say this now. Some people may not like this, but you can even do that also in a marriage or in a relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because if you become vulnerable and say, listen, wife or husband, I'm not quite sure about this. Let's talk. Let's communicate. Let's converse because I'm not quite sure. I think it's also being real
Exactly.
because I think the realness or the sincerity or the purity of the situation, individuals can feel that. If somebody's being sincere, they can absolutely feel that Ash is being sincere. Or if he's not, they can also feel that. As my mentor would say, energy is real.
Yeah. So
Energy is
true.
absolutely real. So I
Really, yeah.
think these thought up, think up, speak up.
Yes.
I'm sorry, free up, think
Yeah.
up, speak up. Free
Yeah.
up, think up, speak up.
Yeah.
That alone, we can just stop right there. I mean, free up, freeing up some time, then give you an opportunity to think, and then now have an opportunity to converse or to speak about it.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. And also because you want to become strategically aligned with where you want to go. And unless you give yourself that strategic time, you'll always be in the grind. So a lot of the time, like when I used to go around the country facilitating a program for the American Management Association on how do we shift from being operational to being strategic. And that is the fundamental first step based on a lot of research is to, for the sake of God, take time off, sit down and distance yourself from the daily grind so that you're able to think clearly And that's, I mean, I think a lot of us can potentially resonate with the fact that when once you walk away from something, somehow you're opening up the windows, right?
That's right. That's right. It was a complex situation, and we were trying to solve something, and it walked away, and I'll never forget. My partner came back. He said, "I got it." He said, "As soon
Oh,
as I put it down, and I think he went by the swimming pool or went golfing or something, whatever he did, and he came back. He said, 'I got it. I
see, yeah,
got
it's
it,' and
incredible.
it
Yeah,
just it
yeah.
just clicked. It
It,
just
this
clicked.
this
So
this amazing engine needs some time to process things. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Do you also believe in that space is also connecting with their spiritual leader, whether it's God or whoever they may consider that?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because you're talking about being authentic and you want to get centered in what your values are, what are the things that you care about, what's your purpose, what's driving you in that direction. Because you want to, at the very end of the day, you want to make sure that you are aligned with what your own value set is and what kind of drove you in the very beginning to start this business or take this job or take this role. And I think sometimes people want to either inspire or mentor others or help the company get better.
Yeah, I think that's powerful. Now let me do something kind of a little bit different. So we were talking about established companies, companies that's $1 trillion companies, half a trillion, all of those other things. What about these startups? These startups. I'm starting up, but somewhere I think I read you sent me something, and forgive me if I get it wrong, but something about like why most startups don't communicate or have a communication strategy or something like that. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because I know we have a lot of individuals that's starting up, whether they're starting up with multi-level marketing or they're starting up with, I don't know, printing a t-shirt or
Yeah.
whatever it may be. So how talk to us about that?
Yeah, a lot of the time people get so much in love with the product or service that they want to launch, and they don't spend enough time really putting themselves in the shoes of that customer. So
Oh,
that's
that's
really
good.
a big issue that you find is that people are running so quickly without spending enough time thinking about who is that end customer. What is it that they want to accomplish? What is it that they
Mhm.
want to achieve? What's blocking them? And that's really where the gold of the story is going to be, is understanding the pain points and then coming back and thinking, how is my business or my startup going to solve those pain points? Because we want definitely to hopefully make a step change for whoever that end customer is.
Is that why they don't have growth? I guess you say, or that's what's causing them to grow or not grow, I should say.
Yeah, they're so much into, thinking about the mechanics of the business versus being
Mhm.
inspired and engaging more with those end customers and potential organizations that could benefit from what they offer. So I think almost all of us could benefit from having more conversations with our customers or our potential customers. It makes life so much easier for us to understand more and more what's going to actually make a difference for them.
How can we move that? And I agree with you, first of all. I I don't have an issue with talking on the phone or video conferencing or in person. And I have some friends that are absolutely not going. They're just like, I don't want to talk to people. They're
Yeah.
brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But when they talk about talking to people, they're not. So how can we bridge that for those individuals that's introverts, and then also with all of the AI that's coming online?
Yeah.
How now when I'll be able to talk to the Sadiq, the ashes of the world? How
Yes.
would all of that come together?
What the best thing that I think would recommend for people is to realize that as human beings, a lot of the time there's almost like a default system. So, for example, this idea of I need to talk to more customers. Sometimes you immediately think, oh, that's just got to be me. And what we want to tell our listeners is we also want you to know that there are 7 billion people on earth, and there are a
Yes.
lot of people that you can partner with. So
Yes.
there may be someone else already working with your potential customers. And you may go to that person and say, hey, you're already talking to these accountants. Is there any chance that you have potentially a moment where you're meeting with those customers and I can come in and actually be a guest speaker? And all of a sudden, it's a whole lot easier because now I am partnering. So I'd love to actually encourage listeners to think about partnerships, to think about creating customer advisory boards, or maybe just make it as simple as let's just have lunch.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you invite a few small business owners in town to meet with you, and in that meeting, you have a one-page document that you have a few ideas for how they can do things better, and then you can basically say, "Would love to work with you more." So I very much encourage people to think of simple ways of doing things, and also are there ways that you can partner so that it gets a lot bit easier.
Yeah, that's real good. That's real good. Let me ask this because I hate to even touch this subject because it's just been so messed up lately, but politics. And I
Yeah.
hate to even just but I know so many people have so much weight on from politics, one way is one day is this way, another the next day is somewhere else, all of those things. Have that affected individuals, whether it's a C level or startup, on how we have to communicate with them to move them into action?
Yeah, I think definitely we've seen several companies get affected by the political situation, whether it's within the US or globally. Um,
Hmm.
and and I think the best advice that I give leaders is really think about your values that you want to be so authentic to. Because if you stay constant and consistent in what those values drive you to do, then no matter what happens in the outside world and we stay true to those values, your your employees are constantly monitoring you. As you said, the energy
Yeah.
travels. People can read through
Hmm.
that, and they can
That's right.
actually read through the authenticity or lack thereof. So what
Hmm.
I advise leaders is I would love for you to be as authentic as you want to be. Just also talk about the limitations of what is it that we can do and what is it that we cannot do, because there are a lot of things that are beyond our control. And it's much better if you're going to say anything, just say something that is about the value set that you believe in and how you would like to see this happening for everybody without preferring one group versus another, whether it's religion, creed, color, all those different things for sure.
Yeah, I think for whatever reason, we start going into these tribal type mindsets. Everybody wants to be in a particular tribe and not looking at everybody as, okay, how can we solve this problem? Cancer is a problem. How can we solve it? Not figuring out, oh, I'm this or you that, so we all gonna go in our separate corners when cancer is still exploding
Yeah,
instead of let's pool our resources and figure out how we can defeat this particular thing. If we did it with other diseases, we can do it with this one.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. No, it's very, what you're saying is let's think of humanity as a whole, as
Yeah,
one entity and not differentiate. Because it's
yes.
interesting, it's funny what's happening now because you remember one of the plays, Dr. Faust's, where, it basically says, hey, I bleed like everybody else. So therefore,
Right.
to your point, if we can find a cure, it's going to help everybody. Let's pull our efforts together. And I think that's really where, to your point, if everybody really thinks collectively, it's a whole different universe.
Absolutely. I,
Yeah.
I agree with as we about to close out, and I know this time just seems to be just fly by. Here I'm going to do something for you. I'm asking. So all of our audience listeners, we know your pedigree, we know how powerful you are, we know you meet with all of these great people that's leading major companies, but for a moment, what are some powerful advice you would give to those up and coming leaders, leaders that are growing? and even established leaders, what are some powerful advice that you would share with them in this economic climate, in this political climate, just all the way around? What's some powerful advice you would share with them?
The first one, I would tell them, make sure that every 6 months you go on a listening tour and
Oh,
literally let people know, you know what, I'm actually just interested in scheduling time because I want to kind of lean in more into the relationship, learn from them what's working, what's not working, what could be better. Those three questions are absolutely foundational to that conversation. And the beauty of the listening tour, it's an almost a very subtle way of opening a lot of doors.
yes.
I can find information about stuff that I can help them just by introducing them to Stanley. You know, as
Yeah,
simple as
yeah.
connecting people together, or I can find out about a service that they're looking for and they're not able to find somebody to make it happen. And maybe I could do this, or my firm could do
Mhm.
this, or maybe there's another firm that could do this. So here again, I am coming across as advisory. I'm interested in them. So this idea of a listening tour is at the heart of the fact that most of us suck at relationships.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very, very much so.
I mean, it's
Ve-
like one of those things where we don't have enough time in the day to nurture those relationships. So we
right.
always want to figure a way to get these listening tours to happen on a
Mhm.
regular basis, so it doesn't feel like you do it and then you disappeared for a year or two and then you do it again. So I think if you let the people that you're interacting with is, I do this every 6 months, so you know what, I'm going to pencil in when I'm going to follow up with you to make sure that I can come back and do this again, because you know what, I love finding out about the things you're trying to do. And if I can make some intros, I'll do that. But if it's something that we can do, this gives me far advanced notice of what's coming up for you, and I can help you in a whole lot of better way than being completely surprised by it and I don't have enough lead time to get it done. So I think that's the best piece of advice that we can give people, in addition to the idea of definitely make sure you free up time so you can think up
Yeah,
and you can speak up. I think that's very simple to remember, but it's phenomenally strategically valuable for anybody listening to us.
I agree. There's something you said that I think collectively humanity has to work on, and that is sharing or introducing. I
Yeah.
think right, I don't say right now, but I think a lot of people are moving into, well, if I'm not going to make money off this, I'm not going to introduce you to Ash. I'm just not going to do it, even though that may be opening up 17 other doors for you
Yeah.
to do all the things, but they don't want to make that introduction. What do you think about that?
I think it really comes from an abundance mindset. And
Yeah.
in another framework I have, which is the framework about owning it, winning it, and crushing it. And it's a framework about leading service organizations. If you have any business, you are, of course, you are in service. So when you own this business that you are working on, it's all about having the right mindsets. One of them is a responsible mindset, and the other one is the abundance mindset, which then, to your point, it's really more about, let me actually find a way to connect people together and maybe get this wheel turning,
Yes.
so that that other person that I'm recommending may eventually recommend me. Because when you get the universe to work in your favor, it's incredible.
I agree.
Mhm.
I agree. That's being. I think that's being not just vulnerable, but I think that's being open. I think that's being a humanitarian. I think that's giving. I think that's passion. I think that's authenticity. And it's always making sure that everybody collectively have, and not just one or two individuals, but everybody have that opportunity to have. So, man, we can talk. We can keep talking and
Yes,
talking.
yes.
This is amazing. This is amazing. I know you have other people to visit on this Monday, and I appreciate you squeezing the Let's Talk in for a little while and conversing with us. Oh, by the way, happy birthday, Lauren! Today is your birthday. For everybody that don't know, my daughter Lauren. Today is her birthday. It's the 29th. So happy birthday to my daughter. She probably won't listen, but it's okay.
Happy birthday, Lauren.
So listen, um, where can everybody contact you, reach out to you, converse with you? How can we connect? Well, not me, but how can everybody else connect with you? What is that way we can reach out to you?
I think the best would be to visit communicatewithclarity.co, which is our website, Communicate with Clarity. LinkedIn is amazing. Definitely reach out. And I would love to give at least 10 people listening in an opportunity to develop a story about their business so they can definitely benefit from that. And that's completely complimentary. And I'd be happy to do that as well.
Please. So give that website again so they can reach out
Communicate,
and make sure.
yeah. Communicatewithclarity.co, C-O. So
Okay.
communicatewithclarity.co.
All right. Excellent. I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much. But before we leave, because you are the first time on Let's Talk, so you have to be indoctrinated into Let's Talk family. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
This will be good. So I'm originally from New Orleans. And we have some very amazing ways we communicate and we do certain things, and we have a lot of fun with it. So anybody understand the culture in New Orleans? We're very hospitable. We don't meet a stranger. Everybody speaks very, very warm and welcoming. So there's a lot of things we do and we have fun with, but I adopted it to our show. And one of the things you heard me at the beginning, and I'm so to introduce you into the Let's Talk family, you have to make the introduction. You got to do the New Orleans introduction, if you will. So I'm gonna do it first, and then you do it behind me, okay?
Okay, awesome.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
All right, it's very short, but you ready?
Yes. Let's
All
do
right,
it.
all right, here we go. One.
Wow.
Ash, I truly appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much.
Oh, it was a lot of
For
fun.
yes, for everybody that's listening, this is my brother Ash Sadiq. He's an amazing guy. Take him up on that offer. He's only giving 10 away.
That's
If you number 11, you got to pay your costs. So if I were you, give the website one more time because I want to make sure that they get it.
communicatewithclarity.co, and that's at least, $5,000 value. So happy to do that for 10 people for sure.
Absolutely. We giving away $50,000, family. I can't thank you enough. Thank you, thank you,
Absolutely.
thank you. So take him up on that offer. Reach out, get that story for your business. Get that story for your business so we'll be able to benefit and make some things happen. So with that being said, I love you guys. We're gonna climb on out of here. We're gonna have some more fun. We're going somewhere on somebody's beach. Oh, I probably got to go see Lauren, make sure she's good. And but
Awesome.
outside of that, we're going to have some fun. So, with that being said, I will see you guys on the beaches of the world. God bless. And we'll see y'all next week on Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. We out.
Thank
Peace.
you so much. Bye-bye.